everyone, and welcome to She. I'm so excited about this new season. I'm so excited about the guests we're gonna have. You better call your chama, call all your girlfriends. Make sure everyone is on here because it's gonna be so lit. And to start today, we're gonna discuss purpose, a topic that is so close to my heart, and I think for so many people, because whether you're 18 or you're 60, I think once in a while the question crosses your mind. What did God make me for? And you think maybe I'm good at soccer, but you're like, I can't make money, from that on this side of the world. Or you think, I can sing, but can I make enough out of singing? Or, your parents tell you, okay, you can sing in church, but during the week, do some real work. And it can be so difficult to figure that up. And, maybe you're like, I hate my job, but what I really want to do, I'm not sure even where to start. And that's what we want to discuss today. And I brought in the real deal onto this show, to just tell us their stories, and share about themselves and just give us tips on how we can get into our purpose. So let's start with you, Rebecca.
Awesome.
Please tell us your full names and give us a bit of detail about yourself.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, Faith. I'm happy to be here.
Sure.
Full names: Rebecca Dawn Wagetudo, Mrs. Sucre, AKA. No, I go with the AKAs. I am the creative director at Nairobi Lighthouse Church. Singer, songwriter, producer, amidst a lot of other side hustles.
Okay.
And I'm just really happy to be here to talk about purpose today.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm excited that you said side hustles, because I think it fits into what we're discussing today, right?
Yeah.
And you, Daktari?
Nobody calls me Daktari. So my name is Shiko Gitao.
Yeah.
I like introducing myself by other things apart from my work, because I feel like there's so much life more than work.
Yeah.
So first of all, the one title I love being is child of the beloved, the most beloved child of God, because that gives me an identity that is beyond myself. Then I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, and I'm a mother to a 7-year-old Kiama. So he likes me calling out his name so that people can say that's his mommy. But I'm also CEO of Kala, which is a digital innovation lab here in Nairobi, and we cover all of Africa in terms of the work that we do. I am a techie and a certified geek. I actually love maths. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wow, that's amazing. I like, and I hope it's something that we can learn from, that that you can be confident to actually say you're a certified geek. I think that's awesome. It's good to just say who you truly are.
I have too many degrees to run away from it.
I think it's awesome. And let's say it, let's teach the younger girl that it's okay to say who you are. And let's just delve into this. I think about my life, and I think it's something, genuinely, if I'm to be honest, on this table, it's something that I have battled with all my life, where what you're good at and what you should do. But I remember even from when I was young, my dad saying, you need to get a real job. And that's wisdom, right? Because you need to put food on the table, but then at the back of your mind, you're like, what did God make me for? What's my purpose? Am I living that purpose? And I just want to ask you both, is that a struggle you've had, growing up to the point you've reached right now? I sort of know a bit of your story, but, just tell us, has that been a struggle for you?
Most people know me from Kutembe Nawe and the music, the Rebecca Dawn music. And what a lot of people sometimes I think are surprised to hear is that I started way before being a musician. I was on full-time staff at our church, as a creative director, as worship leader, which provided me a set, stable income. So before I even really ventured into production and music and all of that, which is a very up and down field, especially in our wonderful Kenya. I already did have such a stable income. But one of the things that I'm so grateful for is that like you had mentioned earlier about get a real job, or food needs to be put on the table. And it's something that over the many years of doing it, many up and coming musicians or people who have a passion for the arts have come and asked me, how are you able to do this full time? Because, we've got a lot of systems that on paper should work, but aren't yet fully functioning the way they should. And without them functioning that way, it's hard sometimes for creatives to live fully off of their art or off of their creative expression. And so one of the things I've been so blessed by that I think has reduced that struggle for me is that I was already in a position where it's like my income is providing for my passion and my purpose, if that makes sense. So never really in that place of I'm passionate or I feel called to this, but at the same time the reality of rent is hanging over my head, and how do I consolidate one with the other? I feel like just with the path that I was on already, it kind of answered that for me. But it's also given me an answer for those who've come behind me and asked, how have you done this? Is I don't think necessarily having the job that pays the bills disqualifies you from simultaneously living out your purpose.
Wow, I love that. And for you, Dr. Shiko, and especially because I know you had high-flying jobs, you know, you were employed by the who's who in this market. And, you know, was it a struggle to just wake up one day and walk out of it and start your own thing? So tell us your story and with that in mind.
I used to be one of those teenagers who used to journal a lot. And I remember I still have that journal where I wrote, God, I don't want to be a statistic. Because remember, I'm a certified geek. I love maths. I specifically love statistics. Yeah. And you know, in stats, they give you like all these tables with data. And as you analyze this data, you realize you can end up like a line, an Excel. That you came and went like a blip. And I remember telling God, I don't want to be that. I want to have a meaningful thing. And I was 16 at that time. But what my mom tells me is that when I was about 7 years old, I had a dream that I went to heaven. And in heaven, I woke up and saw all these children around me. And I was so happy with all these children around me. And when I woke up, I told Mom, hey, Mom, I dreamt. I went to heaven, and there are all these children around me. And my mom told me, that is your purpose. God has created you to influence your generation. You just need to understand what that looks like. So remember that I was 7, I forgot about it, and then my mom, when I was going through this, I don't want to be a bleep in an Excel sheet. I said, no, seriously pursuing is what was I created for? Miles Monroe. I hope you're enjoying in the heaven. I mean, wrote these amazing books like Purpose Driven Life. I was reading that and trying to understand why am I here? What was I created for? And for me, because I have this talent about mathematics, it was like, how do I apply everything I have to actually fulfilling this purpose of being an influence in my generation? And that was my struggle: is how do I contain my purpose and my talent into one synchronized space. And that's how I ended up where I am. So I have a tagline for my life, Shiko Gitau, connecting people to opportunities. Then I put with technology. And I'm saying with technology because 2 years ago, I went for a fast, and I was struggling with, should I go into corporate? Should I go into government? Because I've had all these experiences, so I can actually go and work anywhere. So I was asking God, what's my purpose? And it was very clear, do not confuse your purpose for your calling. I'm thinking, wait, what? They're not the same thing? No, they're not the same thing. You are, as a Christian, an ambassador called, God has sent you to the world, But your calling is the different places that God will assign you. One day you'll be assigned to Mogadishu as an ambassador, and then Switzerland or Australia. Do not be in love with those places because you've just been called to those places, and you can be called back and deployed somewhere else. And that's why I learned that God has given me this talent and purpose to connect people to opportunities. But I will not just tag, I love technologies, I enjoy technology, but I will not limit. At this season of my life, that is technology. Maybe in the next season of my life, it will be something else. And for me, just being that clarity helped me not have like the dysfunctional thing of, God, you've come into corporate to change corporate world. So when the time started, like I needed to start a company, it was like I said, okay, God, make it happen. And we got our first client. And every time I think like, God, this is your business, take care of your business. God literally handles stuff. Because I'm saying, you know, this is a calling for me. You can deploy me anywhere. I've started a company. You can say, okay, done company. go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I'm not attached to it because I know it's a calling, and a calling can be temporary.
Yeah.
And you need to be very clear of that. Yes.
Wow. And I'm just listening to you both, and I'm just thinking, so for you, it's clear because you love math, you love tech, and you're a certified geek, and you can sing. And you said even when before you started singing and for like music, you were doing worship in your church and aspects like that. So let's say Faith doesn't have, like something out there, doesn't have a vision even, can't seem to figure that out. Let's say you just finished high school, you scored maybe a B+, and you're looking at all these things. You're looking, okay, I'm good at math, I'm good at this. You're just seeing all these things you're good at, but you can't seem to figure what your purpose is. What would you tell that person? Just thinking about your journey, what you've seen in life. How do you figure out your purpose? And does everyone have a purpose? Maybe it's just the people who it's visible who have a purpose, and the others are just supposed to, just figure it out. There's you guys, and then there's everybody else. What would you tell that person?
One of the biggest things that when I was younger and growing up and trying to figure out, for me, my age was also 16 actually. It was my last year of high school. I finished a little bit early, and I was sitting on the sofa, and I was just like, Lord, what do you want me to do with my life? Like, where do you want me to go? And what am I here for? Because to be honest, all growing up, I thought about, and I know everybody's different, but all I thought about was getting married and having children.
Oh, wow.
Like, that's what I wanted. And so here I am.
Do you want to give a message to your husband through the screen? I'm kidding.
If you'd asked me when I was a little girl, what do you want to be when you grow up? I wasn't one of those girls who was like a teacher, a lawyer, this or that. I just wanted to be wife and mama. By the time I was finishing high school, the possibility of being wife and mama was not yet in front of me. So it's like, okay, what do I do in the meantime? And how do I do something meaningful? Not just exist or take up space. And I remember at that time, one of the books that I was reading, the question that was posed in that book is, what need is right in front of you that you can meet in your world? Wow. And the writer of this book, he said that wealth comes from two things. You're either solving a big problem for a few people, or you're solving a little problem for a lot of people. And he said, if you want to know what you've been designed for, and he's a believer who wrote this book, or what your purpose is, or along that line, look around your world and ask yourself the question, what need is in my world that my giftings, my talents, my passions align with? It's like I would look at a tech problem and just call my husband and be like, come figure this out. It doesn't stoke my passion. Something in me isn't like, oh, I want to be the answer. I want to solve. I want to be a solution giver in that area. So if I was to sit in front of someone who's just like, man, I'm trying to figure it out, whether it's the 18-year-old or the empty nester now, kids are gone, and it's like, okay, I still have another 30, God willing, 40 years on this earth. What am I going to do? That would be the question I think that would help lead down the right path of thinking is, what need is in your world? And where does it intersect with either your talents, your passion, or your giftings? And start praying and thinking in that direction. Because I don't think God created us to be miserable beings who, I'm doing this because I'm good at it, but I actually don't enjoy it. I hate it. I'm not thriving. I don't think that's what God intended. I think He created us to come alive where He's purposed for us to be. It just is that thing of, man, I'm alive here. And I agree with what Shiko was saying. It might even be seasonal. It just might be for now, this is just where I sense the purpose of God in what I'm doing. And it might shift with season or time, but that would be the question I would ask them, because I think sometimes the answer to a question is a good question.
It's true. It's true. Wow. What need is in front of you, and how does that align to your gifts and your passions? We'll take a break, but we'll be right back. So please don't go anywhere.
FamilyNews.Today provides an escape room from the clutter through our podcasts, from church escapades
get disappointed with God. And I think it's a misplaced anger.
to daily devotionals,
The beauty about God's love is that it was focused on all that God had.
to financial and life tips, bedtime stories for your child. All these and much more available just for you on FamilyNews.Today on Spotify, Google Podcast, and SoundCloud. Insights at your fingertips.
Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, this is She, and I have two amazing women here seated with me, or should I call you ladies? Deep, amazing women of God, sharing such truths about purpose. You know, we've just been discussing, you know, their stories and just the how. You know, how do you know what your purpose is? And I loved what you said in terms of, you know, of what need is in front of you. And I think that is so true because if you think about like your friends or your family, there are people who are passionate about politics and like they could kill somebody. You know, like I have a friend of mine who says she'll never buy a car because she does not understand why, you know, like guys will come and tell you move your car so they pass. So she's like, I'm not gonna drive a car because I'm so passionate. So I'm always telling her, by the way, then join government and, you know, just get all these things to change. And so I think it is so true to try and figure out what is that sumbuas you, you know, and I guess it's the same thing with your tech space. And I'm just thinking, so let's say, yes, I've figured out the need in front of me. And I've sort of seen like genuinely this is it. How do I move forward from there? Is it 5 steps to, you know, figuring out your purpose? Are there steps, you know? I'm just curious, do you have in mind steps of helping someone get started on their purpose or getting started on this new thing? You know, I have my job, my day job, like you said, and you want to do your purpose as your side hustle. Top of mind, are there things that come to mind that you feel would be steps to succeed in that journey?
I want everybody to understand that there's a God-shaped purpose hole in your life. And as Rebecca said, it is about looking at what is that icks you about the world that you need to solve for, and you have the solution and the recipe for it in you. Is there 1, 2, 3 steps to getting your purpose? There is none. Yeah, I always say sometimes you wait for the money, because sometimes some people say, I want to have all the money in the world before I can pursue my purpose. I want to have the right environment, I want to be at a certain status in life or society. If you wait for all these things, you'll be overtaken by events. I think during the break I was talking to, I have a mentor who wrote this book, and in the book he says there are 2 types of people. There are people like Bill Gates who accumulated wealth fast and then started pursuing what is their purpose with their foundation and stuff. And there are people like Mother Teresa who said, I want to be a healer and for soak her life to be able to give her life to the poor. But I feel like many of us are being called to be in the middle. You may not have the billions of Bill Gates or afford to be poor as Mother Teresa, but you can do with what you have, what you can.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that's what I tell people. And for me, that impact of having a loving mom and some food was my purpose at that time. Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, and as you grew up when I was in high school, and I was good at maths. Teaching Form 1 and Form 2 maths came naturally to me.
Wow,
yeah, and when you meet some of these people later on, you say, hey, you helped me move that car bump. Yeah, so it is doing what you have with what you have, what you can with what you have. Don't wait for everything to be in place before you start, because eventually you look and say, don't regret. And purpose takes risk taking. I always tell people, it will be uncomfortable. People will look at you weirdly and question your sanity. For me especially, but when you sleep at night, I always tell people, you sleep at night and saying, thank you, Lord, for what you've achieved with my life today. It's not going to be easy. It's hard. but it's going to be worth it when you look back. When I look back at my life, I say, I'm happy I made that move because it has made such a big difference in the society, in a person's life. And those people might never even know you, but it's worth it. Yeah.
That's true.
If I can just tag on one thing real quick. One of my favorite scriptures in the Bible is when Moses has been in the wilderness for 40 years. And it's time now. The Lord, he has this burning bush moment, and God tells him, I want you to go back. I've heard the cries of my people, and I want you to deliver them and take them to the land that I have for them. And Moses asks the Lord, what will I say to them? How am I going to do this? And God answers his question with a question. And God asks him, what do you have in your hand? And what he had in his hand was his shepherd's staff. And I think sometimes we belittle where we've come from, not understanding that our past is what was preparing us for our purpose. And you can look at a shepherd's staff and be like, what is this? I'm going into government halls. I'm going to face Pharaoh. I'm going to deliver a people. How has shepherding in any way qualified me or prepared me for this purpose that's in front of me? And yet that was God's answer to him of when he was saying, how do I step into this? I'm just feeling overwhelmed. I'm sure this is what you've called me to do. I'm not doubting that this is where you're leading me. The doubt isn't God, the calling you've given me. The doubt is me. Can I do this? Am I capable? Am I qualified? What am I going to say? I have a stammering tongue. And God asks Moses, what is it that's in your hand? And I think sometimes we have to ask ourselves, like Shiko was just saying, what's in your hand right now? What do you have already? And don't despise the humble beginnings. Don't despise that little class you did for the, these HIV ladies and things like that you might feel like, okay, but in light of where I'm going, that doesn't seem like much. And it's like, no, that was exactly what you needed to prepare you for the purpose that's in front of you. So just look at what's in my hands now, because that is the shepherd's staff that you're going to throw down in front of Pharaoh. And the miracle work of God is going to take place through something that you found so ordinary.
Wow. And I love just some of the things coming out of this. I've heard aspects of just time, like this could be just locked for this time, and I loved your example of, just feeding those kids, via your mom, and that's for that time. And in high school, you're teaching this students and all that, and that's for that time. And there's what you're doing now. And I think, yes, time is important, and, just understanding that. I loved the aspects of, what need is in front of you and how does that align. I love the aspects of what's on your hands right now, and how can you use that. And I think so many times, like you're saying, there's so many things that have happened in our lives to this point that could be tools for your next, but you're just ignoring that. And so hearing all these things, my question is, how do I get courage? I'm 50 years old. I have hated my work the last 30 years, and I was saying earlier, statistics show like up to 65 to 70% of people in this world hate their work. And it's probably because they're not living their purpose, they're just getting a check. A varied type of people, but they need courage. They need to do it afraid. But how do they do it? I know you've done things afraid. So I just want to hear what your thoughts are on that.
One of the things I would encourage people, especially who are in a line of work now that there isn't that sense of satisfaction that comes with feeling like, man, I'm just jumping out of bed every morning because I'm going to fulfill the call of God over my life or the purpose that I have, or feeling like, okay, what this job is enabling me right now to do is to pay bills, which is a very critical part of life, but it's not giving me life. I don't feel that sense of satisfaction. One of the ways I would encourage you is, if you are not yet at the season, at the place, and I'm not saying this as a negative thing at all, if you're not yet at that place of bravery of, I'm going to leave this and start this other thing. I don't think Paul had any shame in the fact that he was a tent maker. That he had a hustle that financed his purpose. So, and he makes this very clear in scripture, because he said there were some churches I went to that they were able to provide for my needs or to be a blessing to me. But there were other churches he ministered to who were poor, who were not able to do that. And he had a business that I don't think Paul would have told you, I am called and it is my purpose in life to make tents. But he understood the reality of, sometimes I need the job to finance the purpose. And so don't despise necessarily if you are in a job that is allowing you to take care of needs and take care of your family. Like, that is a good thing. Just our emotions make us want to be like, I'm tendering my resignation. I'm going to do this thing. And by all means, if you have the conviction that that's what the Lord's leading you to do, do it.
Yeah.
But also don't feel like you're not stepping out in faith if you're taking small steps.
Yeah.
Like small steps in faith are just as wise as big steps in faith. So that would be one of my answers. I know Shiko's going to have just wisdom on the tip of her fingertips.
So I have 3 favorite characters in the Bible.
Okay.
Paul, 4. Paul is my favorite one. One of my favorite, because I feel like he's very practical. Like super practical, right? Then there's Bezalel because he's a creative and a builder and stuff. I love that. But my 2 ones that I feel like align with what God has called me to in the marketplace is Daniel and Joseph. When you look at Joseph, he was given a vision when he was young.
Yeah.
He dreamt it. Yes, he saw it. Bills, sun and moon, all that stuff. He actually saw it. But he had to go through a process.
Yeah.
So God will show you, but it not happen instantly.
Yeah.
You have to go through the process of preparation. One of my mentors, just 2 weeks ago, so sometimes we pray. He said, Shuko, I know you've been praying, and you're asking God, what's happening? God has 4 answers. And usually say, oh, no, yes, maybe, no. He has no, which is like, not happening, not in my will. Then slow down.
That's good.
Then grow. You have to grow before you understand you understand this prayer answered, and then there's go, which is like, okay,
now.
let's do now. And most of us have the slow and grow answer, but we don't appreciate it at all. And Joseph went through the grow purpose.
Yeah.
Why do we expect things to happen for us instantly when there's this happening? God has shown you a vision. Don't negate it. Ask God to give you the grace to go through the process. Because you'll never microwave experience.
That's true.
If you get there preterm, you're going to die.
Yeah, that's true.
I can guarantee you that. And I'm saying this from like experience.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I love it. And I'm just listening to you and I'm thinking that if there's anyone watching, and they were a little confused, like for me, I have so much clarity, and I know anyone watching is getting that clarity on aspects of purpose, and already I'm just bathing with fire, and I'm like, hey, I need to go then again, think again, what is in front of me, what is on my hands, which is beautiful. And I'm also challenged about the time aspects as well, like we've shared. And I'm also just thinking about the aspects of that God has said that he has a plan for me. I was thinking about this topic, just yesterday evening, and I was like, when God created us, just like when, someone puts together like a mug, a cup, you could, like the metallic cups our moms use in shags. And
hey, but chai slaps in those cups.
Yes, it does. It tastes
just slaps in
those
those cups.
The metal that wears off a
Some
bit
sort
every
of
time you take tea.
reaction or something
and
in there.
when you think about those cups, our moms use them for tea, right?
Yeah.
But if you come maybe to the upper side of town, maybe that cup is used for maybe flowers or decor. The other day I saw someone selling like a kettle and that set of cups for like 3,000 shillings, and back in Shags it's like super cheap, right? And I was just thinking about it and I'm like, so the person who knows the true purpose of that cup is the person who put it together. When they did that cream and the 2 flowers, they knew what they meant. Maybe it wasn't for tea. Because think about it, the tea is hot. It's taken hot. It will burn you in the metal. So maybe it wasn't for tea. And it's the same thing with our lives. I think the only person who truly knows our purpose is God. And so many times I think that's the best place to run. Not I think, I know. Run to he who made you, and ask him, what did you make me for? I think I think I was 16 as well. I actually wrote a song, but I don't have a good voice, so I won't sing it. But funny enough, I wrote the song and I remember the tune to date. And I was just asking God, what did you make me for? And I remember saying, I want to live for you and do your will, but guide me on what you made me for. So even as I'm doing those things, it's for his glory. And that's my biggest encouragement as we close this show. Take time and ask he who made you, what did he make you for? And if you don't know him, start there and tell him, what? Come into my heart, Jesus. Now, show me. We're together on on this.
Yeah.
How do we walk this path? You know, guide me on what is my purpose and help me live it, and give me the courage,
Yeah.
you know, to do it afraid and live it. Guys, that's it for today.
So I wanted to say, because
Yeah,
we
sure.
both, all of us said 16, it is important to say it doesn't have to happen at 16.
No,
it can
it
happen at
doesn't.
50.
Yes.
Yes.
It's true. It can happen at 10 even.
Yeah.
We could
Yeah.
ask that question earlier because we have people at 10 starting businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true. That's it. I wish we had more time, but I hope you've learned something. I know we have seated
Yes,
here.
yes.
See you next week right here on She. We've loved having you guys listen. We've loved having you guys on the
Thank
show.
you.
Thank you.
God bless you and keep you, and see you next week. Bye.